So now, let us go within and prepare our mind and our body. And our spirit. Today's reading is from Jack Kornfield, A Path with the Heart. The ordinariness of spiritual life comes from a heart that has learned trust. From a gratitude for the gift of human life. When we are just ourselves without pretense or artifice, we are at rest in the universe. In this ordinariness, there is no higher or lower. There's nothing to fix, nothing to desire. Simply an opening in love and understanding to the joys and suffering of the world. This ordinary love and understanding brings an ease and a peace of heart to every situation. It is the discovery that our salvation lies in the ordinary. So let's go within and take these words and let them rest to hear what it is that they have to speak to us. And we listen to the chirping, to the birds. We feel the delightful cool air, the warmth of the sun. The love of companions, the pleasure, and being together with one another. And we recognize that it is in this, as it is in everything, that the source of that from which we come, by whatever name, definition, or experience we have of it, it is expressing, it is delighting, it is celebrating the truth of what it is within the heart and the mind and the soul of each of us. And as we allow ourselves the joy of the ordinary, we just allow ourselves to know that there really is nothing ordinary about it. And it fills us. And it lets us remember not only what it is, but who it is that we are. And we celebrate, we give thanks, and we lift up our hearts to that love that simply is and is who we are. And so it is.
Wow. The music is always perfect. The opening prayer is always perfect. It always just seems to... We don't talk to each other, it just happens. One mind, right? It is the last Sunday of the month, and so it's the last time we'll be talking about our April theme, which is living from a higher vibration, which is living those ordinary daily lives from a bigger viewpoint. Remembering that, let's see, what have we talked about? Oh, first, we can identify our every experience as good no matter what. Good no matter what. When we remember to look from that higher viewpoint. Living life by remembering to enter the God field, that field that Rumi wrote of, that's out beyond wrongdoing and right doing, where we meet each other and understand life from a much broader perspective. So that we can remember that we're sourced in spirit, and that if we empty ourselves of ego and allow that love to rush in and fill ourselves, then we just continue to pour it out all over the world. And then what? And then what? Once we become practiced at holding ourselves in that high vibration, what then? Well, the way it goes in my life is then I fall down, and then I get back up, and then I fall down, and then I get back up, and then I fall down. That's life, I guess. That's life. There's a story I read recently about a young monk who had been meditating for years and years and years, and it got to the point where all he wanted to do was to become enlightened, but he couldn't get there. It eluded him somehow, and so he decided he was going to go to the top of the mountain, and he wasn't coming down until he got enlightened. So on his way up the mountain, he ran into this old man who was carrying a bundle of merchandise over his shoulder, and the old man said, "Where are you going?" And the young man said, "I'm going to the top of the mountain, and I'm not coming down until I'm enlightened. Or else I'll die. I'll either become enlightened or die up there." And the young monk saw something in the older man's little glimmer in his eye, and he said, "Do you know anything about enlightenment?" And in response, the old man just dropped the bundle to the ground. The monk saw what was going on immediately and said, "Is it that easy? You just let go of what you're holding on to?" And the old man replied, "Yes, but it's not always that simple. It's not always that simple to let go of what you've attached your feelings to and your beliefs to and your thoughts." But the young monk was now enlightened, and so he began to go on his way, and then he stopped and thought for a second, and he asked the old man, "Now what?" And in response, the man turned, picked up his bundle, put it over his shoulder, and headed into town with his goods. That's the point. It's what we do. It's just the way we do our life. It's not, nothing changes on the outside. You've all heard the old adage, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Nothing changes on the outside. We don't have to do anything differently at all. But our inner landscape is completely new. Our inner landscape is what has changed. And so our whole experience of life changes. And the people around us begin to change because we're different. We feel different. We speak differently. We may not change the things that we do, but we change everything else about ourselves. We still chop wood, but we do it with mindfulness. We still carry water, we do it with gratitude. And I agree with the old man. It's not always that easy. It's not always that easy to let go of the things that we've attached ourselves to in belief or in feeling or in obsession. I think even the enlightened ones, like the Buddha, still struggled with attachment to things and ideas and beliefs. But the difference was that he saw that he was struggling with it. Sometimes sometimes we simply don't see that we're struggling with an attachment. But I think it's human nature to become attached. It's the nature of our higher self, our divine self, to let go. To let go. And so the question that arises for me is, how can I live right now as though I am fully enlightened? Like the old man coming down from the mountain. How can I live? Do I ever have a reason to go back and stay in that lower vibration? Or can I always raise myself up to a higher vibration? Can I live from the highest possible place I can reach? I don't think there is ever any reason to go down and stay down. I think that we fall down and get back up and fall down and get back up a lot, like maybe for the rest of our lives. But staying down there is a different thing. I think once I was talking with someone today, and once you experience a larger viewpoint, it's really difficult to feel comfortable at the smaller viewpoint you used to see from. However, it's awfully easy to get down there and get stuck and not know what it is you're obsessed about or attaching to or stuck with. So I found a couple of, I thought a lot about it and found a couple of the things that have helped me, that still help me every single day, to get out of being frightened, to get out of being stuck in, this really is all about me anyway, to not get stuck there, to become more expansive in my view and more enlarged in my thinking. And then it occurred to me that is the path to enlightenment, isn't it? To live as if we already are enlightened. Because every time we expand our view to the next level, we may fall back down. But I think it was Oliver Wendell Holmes, the great Supreme Court Justice, who said that a mind stretched to accommodate a new idea will never go back to its original dimensions. Once we stretch the mind, that expansiveness stays there. And so kind of always living to the highest level we can see and a little bit beyond seems to me to develop in us a trust that we will be shown those higher levels that we can't even see yet, and that we will that we can go there, and eventually that will become our place of residence. And of course then there'll be another place to evolve to, and another place to evolve to, etc. But I just started thinking about some simple little things that help me remember, and not all the time, not even very often, but occasionally I remember to remember. This human life is an interesting journey, isn't it? One of them is what I call spiritual true north. Do you know what your true north is? What is your highest intention of yourself? What is the highest intention for what you want to do and be and give in the world? What's your highest view of yourself? How would you sum it up in a single word? Do you exist so that you can express love? Do you exist so that you can express compassion? One of the ways to find out is to think for a couple of minutes about the people you really, really most admire and what the qualities in them are that you admire them for. You know, if you admire, one of my heroes is Gandhi, for a lot of reasons, one of which is the strength of his conviction, and another one is the breadth of his compassion. So who appears on your list, and what are the traits in them that you admire? The first thing I want to say about that is that you already have these traits within you, or you wouldn't admire them in someone else. You wouldn't recognize them in someone else. They only resonate with you because you've already got them. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is you can look at those traits and qualities and find the ones that repeat themselves a lot. Like mine are integrity, compassion, love, and you could call it humor, I guess. Yeah, good humor. If you find those traits that spread themselves across all of your lists, and then turn those into your true north question, a simple question you ask yourself, like, what would compassion do here? What would love do here? So when you get confused or angry or hurt or upset, it's coming from the very depths of your own being that you're asking the question. The thing that's most important to you. What would conviction do here? Conviction or passion about your convictions. What would compassion do? What would love do? What would be a humorous way I could look at this situation that right now looks like doo-doo? There's that true north question just turns you around for a second and lets you know that you're attached because you're feeling confused or upset or you don't know what to do or you're angry. It just sort of changes everything in asking that question. So, usually the answer will direct you, if you listen for the answer, to do something that is absolutely the opposite of your first impulse, right? Somebody insults you, the first thing, I don't know about you, but the first thing I think of is, ooh, how can I insult them back even harder? That's the human part. That is that part of our brain that we've inherited from our small mammal ancestors, and it just comes up in a second. It's that fast. And that the speed is thanks to the reptilian brain that we also still carry around. We can either get angry, we can insult them even harder, or we can turn and walk out of the room with as large a display of I'm ticked off as we can possibly muster, right? Those are the first responses. The second response is, once I ask myself, what would compassion do? What the answer tells me is to ask, what is causing this person so much pain that they have to insult me? Or, this isn't about you at all. This is about them. Those are the two answers that come most often for me. It's almost 180 degrees from where that first attached instinctual, not instinctual, it's not even instinct, it's a trained habitual reaction. Get mad, get even. Take it personally, whatever it is. If I can remember, it's not about me at all, and if I can broaden out a little bit and say, I wonder what's really going on here. What would compassion do here? There is an answer, and there is a voice that will answer you every single time and say, relax, first off, relax. And notice how you feel all of a sudden when you even ask that question. What will compassion do? It's such a relief. Because living from attachment feels crabbed and small and tight and ugh. Just feel better as soon as you ask that true north question. But you have to be a little bit careful because sometimes that crafty little part of us will disguise itself as that inner voice and for example, a number of years ago, I was at our summer conference at Asilomar in California. And Andrew Harvey was the speaker. It's the first time I've ever heard him. He's a mystic who is really heavily into social justice. He's an amazing guy, the most passionate speaker I have ever heard. And he just reached out and grabbed me and shook me up. And he basically told the whole audience, it's time for you to get up off your meditation cushions and take a look around and figure out what you can do to make the world a better place. And we all went, really? It was kind of a shock to us. This was a long time ago when we were all still doing lots of navel contemplating. It's true. And so anyway, this guy really stirred me up. And we're walking back to our room, my sister and I told her that I was going to sell everything I owned and move to Calcutta. Actually, I think what I really said was, I think I'm going to sell all my shoes and give the money to the poor. When I heard those words come out of my mouth, the only thing I could do was laugh. I'm going to sell all my shoes. I have a shoe thing, for those of you who don't know me well enough to know it. I have a shoe thing, and I was going to sell all my shoes and give the money to the poor. I mean, hi, drama. Give me a break. I just started to laugh. And I thought, oh, this is not the answer. This is not the answer. So I just decided to wait until I knew what the answer was. And in the meantime, I learned a whole lot about being compassionate and generous while I was waiting for the answer. About a year later, the answer came to me, and it was, why are you working as hard as you're working just for money? You don't like what you're doing. You don't feel like you're making a difference. Why are you working as hard as you're working just for money? And I said, well, what's the thing I should be doing? Watch out, those questions are dangerous sometimes. Again at Asilomar, the answer was ministry. I said, say what? That was the answer. It was to do something that I thought might make a bigger difference than what I was doing. And so, the answer was not to sell my shoes and move to Calcutta. You have to be just a little bit cautious and listen to what it is that pops out of your mouth and into your brain. When you're hurt or confused or angry or upset and you don't know what to do, just ask yourself that true north question and wait for the answer. What would my true north tell me to do? What would love do? What would compassion do? What would integrity do? Whatever it is. The second thing I realized is that we all, and I talk about this a lot, we all see life through our particular framework, our particular perspective. So before you say or do anything, here's a trick. You can take your mental frame, like you would a photograph, and blow it up. If your frame is normally 8.5 by 11, blow it up to 17 by 22 and see what fills in around the edges. See what you have made room to accommodate in your frame. Here's an example. Say you're driving home on the freeway and it's a terrible, terrible rainstorm. You can't see anything. You don't know where the lane lines are. You don't know where the edge of the road is. You can barely see taillights in front of you. So you're afraid to even pull off the road. The rain is so bad. And all of a sudden you see something that makes you hit your brakes hard and swerve. And when you stop bumping, you're in the ditch. And it's raining like crazy. And so you get out of the car and ruin your new shoes stepping into the mud to find out what was going on. And the first thing that happens to us generally is, why'd this have to happen to me? Look, these are new shoes. I just ruined them. I'm supposed to be home in 10 minutes. Who's going to pick up the kids? Now what am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. If you stop for a minute and walk up to the bank and see that there's a 4-car pile up there, that's what made you swerve, and you increase your frame size a little, the thoughts that fill in are things like, wow, I'm alive. I get to go home tonight. Wow, I'm so glad I have good car insurance. I get to see my kids in a little bit. It might take me longer than I thought, but they're going to be fine. How can I help these people? I better call 911. I bet nobody has. I wonder if anybody's hurt and needs my help. Just that expansion of the frame lets those kinds of things fill in, and it sort of helps us override that chattering little, but what about me, voice that's just there so fast. It's so fast. I read a story, you may have heard it. I read a story not long ago about a man who got on the subway, and there were, it was very crowded. He had to stand up the whole way. And in the car there was a group of kids that were like just poking each other and yelling and screaming and hitting each other and carrying on. And their father was sort of sitting there staring off into space. He wasn't doing anything about the kids. And it just went on and on and on, stop after stop after stop. Finally, as things thinned out, the man sat down, and the father looked up at him, and his eyes were rimmed with red, and he said, I'm really sorry about my kids. We're just coming from the hospital. Their mother died today. That could be the situation every single time. We don't know. We don't know what goes on in people's lives. We don't know. But if we can see our reaction, ask that guiding question, expand that framework a little, we might have the breadth of heart to say, wonder what's up with that family. They seem upset. Wonder what I can do. Can I send a little prayer out to them? Maybe I'll ask that little girl how she's doing. Something different than our normal reaction. It's a very simple thing to do when we remember. So these hopefully will help you remember to ask what your true north would have you do and expand your viewpoint just a tiny little bit. We don't have to wait for a big challenging situation like our car in the ditch either. We have the opportunity all the time, don't we? All the time. Go to the grocery store and purposefully get in line behind someone who's in the 12 items or less aisle with 20 items. And just see what happens to yourself. It's amazing. Don't they know I'm in a hurry? How about this question? I wonder what would make me do that? What would make me get in the express line with too many items? Because we could all do it any time. You're in a big hurry. Or the person in the lane next to the checkout, to the speedy checkout says, oh, Just go over there, it'll be okay. There's nobody there. And then behind you comes somebody who's going, I wish they'd get out of this express lane. What would make me do that? Those two things help us remember what it is we wish to express through our lives, what it is we want to be and do and create. We have the opportunity with those two simple processes to listen for something deeper and rarer and stronger to come through us. We can expand the frame to give us the ability to see the situation in a new way. And when we do, we are acting as enlightened beings. We are. Because that's what an enlightened being would do. What would love do here? What would compassion do here? What would understanding do in this situation? How can I see this as in a frame that's big enough to expand, to contain me and this? We just choose to act and think and be the way we perceive enlightened beings would choose. We choose to chop the wood and carry the water from our own true north. And we choose to do it starting right now. No reason to wait. We simply choose to remember that today, that's where we want to come from. Today, that's where we want to see from. Today, we want to be the highest and the best and the most expansive and the most enlightened being we can possibly be. And so, just join me in allowing your awareness to fall deeply into your own being, into that place where you feel or see or hear a nudging from that part of you that is so much greater, yet is also exactly who you are already. It is that spark of divine life that lives within this human form. And it's all part of that thing we call God or spirit or universal intelligence or life itself. You are that. We are that. Everything is that. And from that place, I know that each one of us experiences more connection with that calm and still and the light-filled place within. More today than yesterday and more tomorrow than today. A little bit more all the time. I know that each one of us finds whatever it is we need to walk right to the edge of where we are and take one step into something bigger, into something bolder, into something greater. Trusting and knowing that it is all revealed as we need it to be revealed. Trusting that we are part of this universe and integral parts of this universe. And that what we do is the universe acting through us. Trusting that when we lean forward into it, the universe responds to us. It says yes to us. It supports us in becoming, expressing, being all that we came here to be. Because I know this is the truth about us, everyone in this community. I give thanks. My only response to such an amazing universe can be thank you. Thank you that I am here and taking part in it. Thank you for this community of souls with which I get to celebrate. Thank you for life itself, this amazing and rare adventure. Thank you for all of it. And from this place of gratitude, I simply let go, knowing that the universe has already said yes to me. I let it go, I let it be. And we anchor it and acknowledge it by saying together, and so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We now have the opportunity to share with the center, to support the work of this community. And this is particularly a time to just be grateful for all the blessings in your own life, because gratitude is the only appropriate response. But it is also the attitude that welcomes life, that says yes, and welcomes more good into our lives. So welcome that more good into your life, and each day, look for it. It shows up in surprising ways. Make it welcome and look for it. And if you aren't able to give today, or if you give by automatic withholding or whatever, however it works for you, as the basket passes you, just put your hand on it and bless it. Bless the abundance of this community so that we can continue to do the work that we do here. And let's affirm together. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
And so it is.